شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين أبي القاسم محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته المنتجبين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, brothers and sisters in Iman, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, all praises and thanks be to Allah, the Lord of the heavens and the earth, and all that exists. The Lord of the universe, who gives the best rewards to the conscious and great loss to the transgressors. We praise Him and seek His help and forgiveness. We seek refuge in Allah from the evils of our own selves and from the wicked deeds. Whomsoever has been guided by Allah, none can misguide him, and whomsoever has been misguided by Allah, none can guide him. I bear witness that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah alone, and I further bear witness that Muhammad, peace be and blessing be Allah, Saman, peace and blessings be upon him and his family, in his true prophet and messenger, the leader of the messengers and guide of the faithful. First and foremost, before I move on, I'd like to thank all concerned persons who suggested, discussed, and decided to welcome me here to give lectures on a very crucial issue known as globalization and its effect on society. I thank Brother Mehboob Somji because in reality he is the first guy whom I talked to, and he suggested that this could be done in lectures during Ramadan, and without hesitation I said, it's okay, let's move on. I'd like to thank the Committee of Falah Islamic Development, all concerned parties or persons, and I'd like to thank all of you who have joined me tonight for my first lectures. And I promise you that I won't let you down. Inshallah, I'll try my level best as Allah may guide me in presenting this very crucial topic that is contemporary. And maybe most of you with me in this hall here at Noor Center, and those who are checking me live right now on YouTube, might ask yourselves, like, how am I going to expound on this issue? Or what relevance is the issue of globalization vis-a-vis Ramadan? Where does it come in? What has Ramadan got to do with globalization? To your surprise, it has everything to do with globalization. Starting from the first ayah I'd use and build my subject on, and the ayah goes like, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, kutiba alaykumus siyamu kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. Now, the word siyam and the word لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Traditionally, they've been translated straight on, like word to word. Tattaqun, people talk about it as fear. And Siyam is based on stopping to eat during daytime, drinking, and having sexual relation. But to me, it's wider than just those three things. I take Ramadan to be a moment or a time when you are given a chance to change your way of life and come to reality and be conscious of Allah and change the way you're living. But before going deeper into the subject, I would also like to use this opportunity and try to remind most of you who are here that there is relevance, there is significance and importance to remember all those who have left us and gone to a second stage of life, living in Barzakh, who played a major role in making us what we are today. For example, my late father, Sheikh Abdullah Nasir, late Mullah Asghar, late Ayatollah Al-Uzma Sayyid Muhsin Al-Hakim, late Sayyid Akhtar Rizvi, and many, many more whom I'd mention as we go on with these lectures and use as a point of reference for us to sit down and see what is to be done, which way forward. After I've expounded deeply what is globalization and what are the effects towards society. Now, before I move on, I'd ask you and request you politely, humbly, to put Fatiha for the departed. Read Surah Al-Fatiha for them, and then we move on. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Globalization. What is globalization? Some of us think it's a phenomenon, something that came out from the blue, unplanned. Some of us don't even have the sphere, the wideness of the sphere of globalization and its attachment to our way of living and its system that goes all beyond established religion. But this depends on what you read. Where do you read this thing from? And what is this sphere we're talking about? Globalization touches on things like industry, financial system, technology, economics, political, social, and so many other aspects of our lives as we live on earth. Globalization goes beyond our thinking because it goes on sustainable development. Sustainable development is built on the base of looking at the 4 industrial revolutions. We are on the 4th one. And the 4th industrial revolution is a technological revolution. We talk about algorithms. We'll talk about artificial intelligence. We'll talk about the media and what it can do, if misused, that is. But as I just said earlier, we look at things from a perspective and point of view being fed to our minds and hearts by the media. Yet we don't know how the media can be manipulated and put in the forefront for those who want to push on the globalization issue using the media to manipulate us. Some of them say it started in 1770 with Mayer Amschel Rothschild bringing in Adam Weishaupt, the guy who came up with the thought of mine to start up all over again Freemasonry. He's called Adam Weishaupt. But to us who go deeper and read, we go a little bit back to what they call the doctrine of discovery. How many of you have heard about the doctrine of discovery? Please, those of you who are in this hall tonight and those who would see this video through YouTube, write down the doctrine of discovery. There is a certain pope who gave permission by a papal bull to Christopher Columbus and the King of Portugal, who used Vasco da Gama and Bartholomew Diaz to go around the world and look for people who are non-Christians. And if they don't want to be Christians, their only safety is to convert to Christianity. If they don't want to be Christians, then they have the right to kill them instantly. Today being an introduction, I would like to prepare your minds and hearts, because this is where the war is being fought. There's no more bullets. I'd like to prepare your minds for what's coming, and I'd use the screen behind me to prove to you of what I'm saying, because my system of speaking or talking or lecturing, for that matter, I use evidence, authentic evidence of what I'm saying. It's just way out, and this is the only modern way of talking to people who are advanced in thinking, advanced in technology, because all these things can be found on the internet. And when you are advanced in all these things, then it's very easy to get into you and be together with you, so that we go out from here in order to try and inform our brothers and sisters outside, show them the reality, and that we have to move on from where we are right now, where there's this war about sects. This sect doesn't like that sect, this madhahib doesn't like that one, fighting people who are not of our denominations, people who are not of our religion, while there's a bigger thing coming towards us, all of us, that is, whether you are Hindu, whether you are Jews, whether you are Muslims or Christian, what is coming is just against all established religions. That's why I said, Kutiba alaykum as-siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun, has every reason, has everything to do with what's coming. Because to have taqwa is to be conscious of Allah. If you are conscious of Allah, then you are ready to be armed by the spirit, mind and heart to face what's coming. there'd be ways of getting into you because they've already started. There are things like music, movies, mainly to come to bring about family instability and social instability. These are their major roles that they play. If you listen to music that was being sung in the 60s and what is sung now, if you check movies of the 60s and what is being shown now, then you'd understand what I'm warning you against. Looking at your age brackets, in Kenya, they started molding us with television series known as Dallas. They checked us closely. They brought us to Falcon Crest. Then they moved further. The rich also cry. Right? Then they went on to The Bold and the Beautiful. Right? Now they've reached a stage where they know we are ready, ripe enough, they just bring us Mexican soap operas. That when the mouth moves, you'd know he or she is not speaking English by they voice over the movie. But they've gone further in Tanzania. They brought Indian movies that speak Swahili. Yeah? And then you have someone like Amitabh Bachchan being called Bwana Bakari. Now, as we go by, as I promised within these 15 days, I'd be giving you evidence on this screen. Today is just an intro, trying to give you what's coming, prepare you for what's coming. When we go out of movies, there are those who know the difference of the lyrics that were being sung in Tanzanian movies in the 60s, 70s, and 80s with all this Mbaraka Mwishe, Muhyiddin Chongo, Nuta Jasmine, Jamhuri Jazz. And when you listen to that movie now, music now, then you'd see the difference. Same with Taarab. If you listen to Ikhwan Safa in Zanzibar, Egyptian musical club, and you listen to what's being sung now, then you'd know where we're coming from and where we are. But then the question is this mere coincidence or is this pre-planned? If it's mere coincidence, then aren't we supposed to have taqwa and starting being aware, being conscious that is this thing anything to do with doing wrong or annoying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If yes, should we intercept and say, no more of these things? If you listen to music, even Asian music, if you go to Esha Bhosle, if you go to Lata Mangeshkar, if you go to Mohammed Rafi, all these songs, and listen to the songs now, look at the movies, Waqt, and all this, and look at the Asian movies, Indian movies now. It's done. Again, the question is this coincidence? If it's pre-planned, what are the aims and the objectives of doing this to the society? Family instability, social instability. You check a movie. If it's home, it's a CD, you can tell your young boy or girl, no, just forward it. But if it's on TV, so you start pretending like something is falling down so you don't see this scenario. Because you're all checking it, you and your sons and your daughters or son-in-laws, daughters-in-law. So we'll go deeper in checking Hollywood, How did they plan this? Who is involved in this? We'll check Nollywood, Nigerian. We'll check Bollywood. How did they venture into this and how did they succeed in this? That is music and movies. And what are the aims and objectives of doing this to society? And then we'll go deeper down to the issue that's now building up in the whole of Eastern Central Africa, that is the LGBTQI+. We have Wimpy Kid's Diary. No, that's kiddish. That's like a nursery school thing. There are 2 more books. One is called It's So Amazing, and one is called It's Perfectly Normal. Then we look into NGOs and national policies, foreign countries, and what they've said, as per their own documents, which, as I promised you, you'll see them here. I have them here, but I'll just keep them for you to read so that you note down. Go and download these documents, read them for yourselves. One thing that beats me up really is how they've succeeded in making us lazy when it comes to reading. They've very much succeeded, because if I send you a document like 10 to 20 pages, I expect you to ask me, please just brief me, what is it all about? You're so used to short messages now, you can't read 10 to 20 pages. What about if the book goes to 140 pages? Let me give you an example. I won't mention the name today, but there is an international NGO, an institute, that's a think tank for Europe. All countries of Europe rely on that think tank. It works on a $6 billion budget. It takes care of 10 organizations below it. These 10 organizations take care of 400 others, and the 400 take care of the 3,000 NGOs. Now, this organization is centered or is aiming, and its objectives are mind control. They don't put no chips in your head, but they do it subliminally. How do they do it? That's part and parcel of my lectures in these 15 days. I'd like you, please, go and tell others that this thing is a serious subject that I've taken my time to study. And I've come to talk to you because I know this place where you're living in is being used as a role model for others to see and follow. Things like smart city. I don't know how prepared you are for these things. Things are like smart estates. How up to date are we in these matters? What do you know about what pharmaceuticals are doing? What do we know about genetics? What do we know about biology? How many institutes do we have to research on these issues? There's something they call endocrine, or some call it endocrine, hormone disruptor. I'd advise all of you who are here tonight, because this is an intro, it's okay, but please carry at least noting papers, because I'd mentioned to you some things that I would like you to go and verify. I may be telling you lies. Go and verify in your websites or internet. What is endocrine or endocrine, both are right if you pronounce them that way, hormone disruptors. Mind you, these guys are into molecular biology. Molecule is the smallest particle of an atom. If an atom is as small as a piece of sand, what is a molecule? Molecular biology can be used in your lotions that you use, soaps. It can be in your coloring, it could be in preservatives, could be anywhere. Who is going to tell you what is in this body lotion? Who is going to tell you what is in your water, milk? Now, all this is globalization, free market. It's because these things come in. They are interdependent. They want to do away with borders so that you just move in. Now, what made me be interested into talking about these things is because I attend many majlis or majalis, and I listen to people who talk in these majlises. I was telling my brother Mehboob, the deeper I go, I just see people like they're still living in the 7th to 10th century. So there's more than 1,100 years that's left. And the real enemy, it's not the Christian, it's not the Jew, it's not the Wahhabi, no. Real enemies are the Zionists. It's a political entity. Let's not be mistaken. Let's be able to know the difference between a Jew and a Zionist. Jews are against Zions. Zionists don't care whether you are a Jew, a Muslim, a Christian, a Hindu, whatever. Any established religion, they are against. How many of you know that the LGBTQI society in America contributes $1.7 trillion every year to America's budget? $1.7 trillion every year. America has a policy for human rights on these guys only. And it's now an order, it's a memorandum that's gone through. It's called the Interagency Memorandum. All ambassadors have to talk about this thing, all cultural centers, all NGOs, all civil societies of America have to talk about human rights for LGBTQ. Now, the only thing that would help us, not only deny globalization, but at least be aware so that it doesn't harm us, is to be informed. Now, if we always talk about these ayahs and always we go back to Saum, Salah, we are not supposed to eat, Ghusl. When are we going to talk about globalization and its effect on society? Look at our society at the moment. Where are we going? How many institutes do we have at par with the enemy? If it's coming into our food, we like eating rice, biryani, pilau, and all this. Who is going to tell us whether the rice is safe or not? Because they can use, like I told you, preservatives, herbicides, pesticides, fertilizer, molecular biology. I was talking to Brother Mehboob. I told him, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Iqra bismi rabbikal ladhi khalaq, khalaqal insana min alaq. Iqra wa rabbukal akram alladhi allama bil qalam, allama al insana ma lam ya'lam. Now go back to Iqra bismi rabbikal ladhi khalaq, khalaqal insana min alaq. Stop. What is the name of the chapter? Al-alaq. What is al-alaq? Clot of blood. That was the first address. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses the Prophet. Let's talk about the clot of blood. The word Iqra, people have different translations. Others say no, it means proclaim. Others say no, it says read. But clot of blood, what is clot of blood? Now, to talk about this, you need to have genetics and biology. You need to know about chromosomes. What are chromosomes? The other ayah is talking about black mud. Other one says sperm. This one is saying clot of blood. Is it the same? Yeah. It's from the mud to the sperm and the egg in mother's womb. Then it becomes clot of blood. But how do you explain this? We have to go back to that sperm, that little that gets in. Scholars say that little that goes into making a baby, if you see how small it is, and you are told that whoever knows Encyclopedia Britannica, it takes 49 volumes of Encyclopedia Britannica, that size, to explain what's in that drop of sperm. So if we want to talk about Al-Alaq, we'd go the whole of Ramadan and wait for the next one to finish the whole chapter, or the 5 verses. Because we'll have to check into bones, how they are made, when are they put, because after being the clot of blood, every 40 days there is change in that body inside the stomach. And yet mom doesn't know. If you ask any mother, when does Allah put that egg back after you have your menstruation? No one can tell you when. So there's a saying that says, you come, or we come through them, parents, not from them. I repeat, we come through our parents, not from our parents. So where are we coming from? From Allah, right? And that's where it comes in, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you are conscious, not fear. You fear fire, right or wrong? You fear lions. Do you go close to them? Can you go close to fire when it's really burning? So should you fear Allah? No, be conscious that He is there with you. Go to the 11th ayah, 13th chapter, Al-Ra'd. See what He's saying. لَهُ مُعَقِّبَاتٌ مِّن بَيْنِ يَدَيْهِ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِ يَحْفَظُونَ مِنْ أَمْرِ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ وَإِذَا أَرَادَ اللَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ سُوءًا فَلَا مَرَدَّ لَهُ وَمَا لَهُم مِّن دُونِهِ مِنْ وَالٍ. Go check the translation. So globalization is a crucial issue, a very important issue that Muslims, Christians, Jews, Hindus must know, must talk about, must inform one another about, because it concerns our way of life in a way that is not as Allah intended. It's coming in by using falsehood, right? We talk about the 4th industrial revolution, artificial intelligence, algorithm, and all these things. Oh, this thing, it's development now, you know, a doctor can operate you while he's in Dodoma and you are in Dar es Salaam, Muhimbili. Yeah, sounds good. driverless cars, sounds good. You just go in and say, okay, I'm going to Temeke or Tandika, and it starts moving. I'm going to Oyster Bay, it goes. Right? But the guy didn't tell you if someone is 10 meters behind and he hacks into that car, he'll kill you. He didn't tell you that. If the doctor is operating you and he's in Kigoma and you are in Dar es Salaam, and I'm closer to the hospital, then I hack into that machine, I'll kill you, and even the doctor can't stop me. So if you want to talk about globalization, then talk about the two sides of the divide. This is how good it is, and this is how bad it can get to, if we don't know what we are doing. Like they say, if we don't know what time it is. And the way these guys are good, they bring it to you gradualistic so that you don't see it. Right? Mwendo kasi. Right? That smart city coming, eh? Big rise buildings. So if you want to go like Ubungo and take all those guys out, we put them in 16 stories building. All guys move here. Pay for 20 years and then it's going to be yours. Right? There is industrialization. Artificial intelligence takes over your job. They brought it through Corona. And they say, excuse me, times are bad, economy is not doing well, please work from home. So 9 of you guys go home, let this one only work because he can do the computers and we don't need you 9. But they, sort of flower it up, you don't see it. Now when economy gets better, we'll call you back. And it will never. Go to the internet, read a book called The Great Reset by Klaus Schwab, who is the CEO of World Economic Forum. Look at what he's written. Great Reset. How many of you know the game Dominoes? How you koroga this thing like this, huh? This is what they are doing right now. So Great Reset is economy, like globalization, industry, special economic zones, export processing zones. Let me give the example of Kenya. And don't misunderstand me. Kenya, the economy was in Asians' hands, especially Mombasa. What they do is what you sell in your shop, I sell it outside your shop. How long can you sustain your business? I sell it cheaper. I sell shirts like you, trousers. Of course, not the same quality, but the layman wants the cheaper one. So he'll never come into your shop, he'll buy outside your shop. How long can you sustain your business? So they moved out, these guys went to Australia, UK, Canada, all of them. Now all shops have been blindly Africanized. Why? Free market. Rejected clothes are called refurbished, or they don't tell you it's rejected, like cars. When the bearing is not right, they don't tell you this is a rejected car because you buy 4 of them using the price of 1. And you come with it to Africa. So we call it reconditioned. Ball joints are not okay, center ball is not proper. When they checked it with the computer, said, no, it's like this a little bit. They say, no, don't worry. How much 4 of them? Says, no, give us the price of 1. Say, okay, it's here, cash. I want the whole container or a whole ship. I take it to Africa. This is globalization. And it's at a level that is UN, AU, and they have sustainable development goals which come from Millennium Development Goals. Sustainable development goals, now you have to read. How many are they? You have to read Jakarta Principles. These are principles for human rights. And then see these two words. I'd go into them deeper. I'll show you my proof that in 2006 they met in Jakarta. That's why it's called Yogyakarta. 2007, 2008, they brought out that report with 29 points that every state has to fulfill. Then there are these two words. Mark my words, and I want you to note this down because we'd go extensively on that. Sexual orientation and gender identity. These are two catchphrases. Sexual orientation and gender identity. If, just to give you an example, I have to go, there's just a single paragraph that I want you to listen to what is written in that paragraph. Yogyakarta principles, and they call these principles on the application of international human rights law in relation to sexual orientation and gender identity. Now, in its introduction, listen to the wording, and this is how they play us too close. It goes like this, and I quote, "All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. All human rights are universal, interdependent, indivisible, and interrelated. Sexual orientation and gender identity are integral to every person's dignity and humanity and must not be the basis for discrimination or abuse." End of quote. Now, let's go to the meaning of sexual orientation and gender identity, because in most Bill of Rights in our constitutions, then there's this thing that you cannot discriminate someone because of sex or gender. They don't go into details. Now, when you see these wordings, know that this is the real meaning of what they mean. Now, at the end, there's a reference of this same page. They say sexual orientation, I quote, is understood to refer to each person's capacity of profound emotional, affectional, and sexual attraction to and intimate and sexual relations with individuals of a different gender or the same gender or more than one gender. That's sexual orientation. Now let's go to gender identity. Gender identity is understood to refer to each person's deeply felt internal and individual experience of gender, which may or may not correspond with the sex assigned at birth, including the personal sense of the body, in brackets, which may involve, if freely chosen, modification of bodily appearance or function by medical, surgical, or other means, close bracket, and other expressions of gender, including dress, speech, or mannerism. That's why Wimpy Kids Diary, they don't need parents' consent to teach your children about sex. In their own wordings, they call it comprehensive sexuality education. They start at 5 years of age or 7 onwards, and they don't need parents' consent. I promise you again, I'll show you the proof. This gender thing is what's called transgender. If your kid was a boy or is a boy and feels like being a woman, then you have no right to say no. She has every right, or he has every right to become a woman by staying on this principle. So, kutiba alaykum as-siyam, ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, kutiba alaykum as-siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. We are going into the holy month of Ramadan. But as we fast, let's be aware that we fast so that we change our way of thinking, our way of feeling, our way of living, and come towards Allah and be conscious that He is there for us, and see what's coming against us, the strength it has, the speed it's using, like the speed of light or more, and see how we can tackle this issue before it gets into our houses, before it hits our minds and souls and hearts, for the better of our future. We don't have institutes. These guys have institutes. If the LGBTQ thing is at the United Nations level, how are we fighting it? How are we saying no to it? What institutes do we have in Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda? So where do we go? How do we tackle this thing? Whom can we rely on if not Allah? And how can we rely on Allah if we are not conscious that He is there for us? That's why I said the ayah that I'm using has everything to do with globalization, but not the one that the Zionists want for us. Because Allah says, Alif Lam Mim, in that same surah, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Now it comes again the word taqwa. Those who are conscious, those who are reverent. This book is for them, it's a guidance. Now we go back to the book, we learn about ourselves. They've taught us everything, the sheikhs, the shuyukh, except who we are. We've never gone inside ourselves and see how great Allah is. That's why it says, Iqra. Yeah, go inside yourself. How many of us know that we have trillions of red and white cells living inside us? Trillions. They give birth, they die, they eat. So you have the whole universe in you, but you don't know it. You know outside, you check yourself on the mirror. But inside, you've never gone even once. He says, if they ask you, tell them I'm closer to them than the jugular vein. If the jugular vein is here on your left and you rely on it, he's closer than this one. I won't take much of your time. I think my time is up, but this is an intro. So prepare yourselves for tomorrow. We go a little bit deeper and we start by proving what we said today. I once again thank Allah, the Almighty, for giving us this opportunity, life and this breath. I thank you all and the committee that invited me. Please send my regards to everyone who didn't attend tonight. Tell them not to miss tomorrow. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for taking your time with me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.